Viagra, the rise of Mark Martin's number 6 Ford. Pfizer's famous blue pill really did hit NASCAR in the early 2000s, first appearing on the number 27 entry, Mike Bliss and Eel River Racing in 2000, and then moving to Mark Martin's iconic number 6 Roush Ford from 2001 to 2005. The pairing was headline-friendly, but fully above board in a sport long used to tobacco and beer money, and Martin leaned into the awkward joke with good humor. On the track, the program delivered. Martin won 3-point races in Viagra colors, Charlotte 2002, Dover 2004, and Kansas 2005, and finished runner-up in the 2002 championship, plus 4th in 2004 and 4th in the 2005 regular season, 9th in the final chase standings. Pfizer ended the deal after 2005, but the image of that blue-branded number 6 and the double entendre era it inspired stuck in NASCAR lore forever. ExtenZe, a lengthy saga of unpaid bills. If Viagra was edgy but mainstream, ExtenZe was the chaotic cousin. The male enhancement supplement backed rookie Kevin Conway's 2010 Cup effort. Conway even took Rookie of the Year largely by running the most races, but mid-season the money fight exploded. Front Row Motorsports alleged that ExtenZe hadn't paid what it owed, parked the sponsorship, and then sued Conway and ExtenZe for roughly $5.4 million. Conway soon bounced to other small teams, and the whole deal became a garage punchline about enhancement that didn't, well, enhance the balance sheet. The lawsuit and sponsor dispute turned what began as eyebrow-raising branding into an infamous cautionary tale about shaky funding. Womanizer, rejected for being too risque. In 2024, for a potential 2025 Cup Series sponsorship, a woman's sexual wellness brand, Womanizer, tried to join the sponsor ranks, but NASCAR said no. After the series denied the Cup-level paint scheme, Womanizer fired back with cheeky Daytona area billboards, not on the track, still coming first, publicly accusing NASCAR of a double standard given past approval of brands like Viagra and ExtenZe. Media coverage noted that the company's complaint and NASCAR's confirmation that the proposal was declined, the dispute provoked a wider debate about where the sport draws its moral boundaries. Ironically, the ban likely earned Womanizer more attention than a quarter panel ever could. LGBcoin, let's go Brandon crypto controversy. When Xfinity Series driver Brandon Brown secured a full-season deal with a cryptocurrency called LGBcoin in late 2021, it seemed like a lifeline for his underfunded team. But LGBcoin wasn't just any crypto. Its name stood for the political chant, "Let's go Brandon," a coded jab at President Biden born from a viral NASCAR interview. The irony was rich. Brown himself had unintentionally inspired the chant, and now a coin capitalizing on it wanted to sponsor him. The team announced the deal believing that they had NASCAR's approval for a paint scheme, and Brown proudly announced the deal. Almost immediately though, a firestorm erupted. Fans and pundits debated if it crossed the line into politics, or if it was just cheeky fun with a meme. NASCAR soon got cold feet, and by early 2022, the sanctioning body formally rejected the LGBcoin sponsorship, emphasizing that it was due to the slogan's vulgar origin rather than any partisan stance. Brown's team was left in the lurch. The driver had to scramble for another backing and run a limited schedule in 2022. Why was it weird? Well, it's not every day that a meme cryptocurrency tied to an insult of the president tries to emblazon itself on a NASCAR. The situation put NASCAR in an unwinnable spot. In the end, they chose to nix LGBcoin. The saga highlighted the tricky tightrope of motorsport sponsorships in the age of internet culture wars, and it all started with the driver's first name inadvertently becoming famous. Trump 2020, a PAC-funded campaign car. Political sponsorships in NASCAR are rare, but in 2020, Corey LaJoie's team went full throttle into presidential politics. A pro-Donald Trump political action committee, PAC, signed on to sponsor Go Fast Racing's number 32 Ford for 9 races, splashing Trump 2020 in huge letters on the hood and sides. This wasn't a grassroots fan decal, it was an official marketing push by the Patriots of America PAC to support the then-president's re-election bid. LaJoie debuted the patriotic red, white, and blue scheme at the Brickyard 400, instantly polarizing the fan base. Some cheered that NASCAR was embracing its conservative fan demographic. Others cringed at such overt politics on the grid. The team framed it as a voter registration drive, with a team statement saying it hoped to make fans race to the polls. It wasn't the first rodeo for campaign cars though. In 2016, another small team ran a Trump-Pence paint job at Texas Motor Speedway. And back in 2012, Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum's campaigns each briefly adorned stock cars. Santorum even sponsored Tony Rain's Daytona 500 entry. But the 2020 effort was more sustained and high profile. Why was it weird though? Well, seeing a sitting president's name on a NASCAR stirred heated debate. Many fans felt politics should stay off the track, while others wore MAGA hats to match the car. NASCAR, for its part, allows political ads, so long as they're in good taste. The LaJoie Trump car ran its course without major incident, aside from generating millions of impressions and news coverage. It remains a striking example of the sport doubling as a rolling billboard for the highest office in the land. Rick Santorum's campaign, Daytona's unluckiest sponsor. Long before the Trump car, the 2012 Daytona 500 featured a sponsorship shocker. Republican presidential hopeful Rick Santorum on the side of a stock car. Front Row Motorsports struck a deal to put Santorum's campaign logo on Tony Raines' number 26 Ford in the Great American Race. It was a bold bid to court NASCAR's largely conservative fan base during a hotly contested GOP primary. The race was even postponed to a Monday due to rain, giving Santorum extra media exposure as commentators marveled at a candidate running in Daytona. Santorum himself sounded giddy, calling NASCAR as American as you can get, and lauding Raines as an underdog much like his campaign. The campaign leveraged the event to promote Santorum's message to fans. The whole spectacle was met with curiosity and a bit of amusement. Raines was a journeyman driver, not a household name, and here he was carrying a would-be president's banner. Why was it weird? Sports and politics don't often mix so directly on a race car. The sponsorship was short-lived, just that event, and Santorum's campaign fizzled out not too long after. But for one very surreal Daytona, stock car racing had a candidate in the field. Literally. Santorum essentially sponsored a car with campaign funds. In NASCAR's long history of cereal, beer, and auto parts sponsors, a presidential campaign ranks as one of the most surprising logos to ever grace a hood. Kim Kardashian's Perfume. Glamour meets grit. Perhaps the most bizarre culture clash on four wheels was when Kim Kardashian entered the NASCAR fray. In 2010, reality TV's reigning queen sponsored a Sprint Cup car to promote her new fragrance line. Yes, you heard that right. Kardashian's Visage and Perfume branding adorned Tommy Baldwin Racing's number 36 Chevrolet, driven by veteran Mike Bliss. The team unveiled the glitzing black and pink Sephora Presents Kim Kardashian paint scheme in Las Vegas, a fitting city for such a promotional gamble. Kim herself served as the co-grand marshal along with Carroll Shelby of the race and was omnipresent that weekend, turning the garage area into a red carpet of sorts. Cameras followed her more than some drivers. Bliss, a blue-collar racer, joked about the unlikely pairing. He suddenly had makeup in his pit box instead of motor oil. Fans were equal parts amused and baffled. NASCAR and Keeping Up with the Kardashians have virtually no overlap, which made the sponsorship feel almost like a prank. Media dubbed it a fish-out-of-water story. The race didn't go well. Bliss wrecked and finished 39th and was out of the ride a few weeks later. Kardashian's attention quickly shifted back to more typical Hollywood endeavors. And why was it weird? A glamorous socialite perfume on a scrappy mid-pack stock car is the definition of oddball. It generated huge buzz, precisely Kim's intent, but for racing purists, it was a head-scratcher. Still, for one glittering weekend, the world of high fashion and NASCAR collided, proving that any sponsor, no matter how unlikely, can have its day at the track. Boudreaux's butt paste, a pain in the behind. Even in NASCAR's golden age of odd sponsors, few can top the chuckle factor of Boudreaux's butt paste. This colorfully named diaper rash ointment hit the Busch Series, now Xfinity, in the mid-2000s, backing female driver Kim Crosby. A former school principal, Crosby was trying to make it in a male-dominated sport and brought butt paste aboard as her sponsor. Talk about gutsy. Announcers sometimes avoided saying butt on air, focusing on the team or car number to keep it family-friendly. The product itself, a cream for babies' irritated bottoms, seemed wildly out of place at 180 miles an hour. But Crosby embraced the humor, handing out free samples and wearing a butt paste fire suit with pride. On the track, unfortunately, the results stunk. Crosby made 10 Busch Series starts between 2004 and 2005. In several, she struggled to maintain competitive speed. Her best finish was 20th at her debut at Talladega in 2004, though not confirmed on the lead lap. As the jokes piled up, though, the sponsor quietly peeled off. The butt paste deal evaporated by early 2005, and Crosby transitioned to monster truck driving soon after. And why was it weird? Well, it's not every day you see butt paste in giant letters on a race car. The novelty of a female racer with a cheeky, no pun intended, sponsor made headlines, but the performance just wasn't there. Still, the sponsorship lives on in NASCAR lore as a prime example of the sport's wackier marketing marriages, equal parts hilarious and cringeworthy. Depend Adult Diapers, Montoya's lucky charm. In 2013, Juan Pablo Montoya showed up at the Spring Toyota Owners 400 in Richmond with Depend Adult Diapers on his Earnhardt Ganassi Chevy, and promptly had his best race of the year. Yes, an adult incontinence product became a good luck charm for a former Indy 500 champion. Depend's parent company teamed up with Montoya's primary sponsor, Target, for a one-off promotion aimed at destigmatizing the product. The result? A big Depend logo on the quarter panels of the number 42 that fans did double takes at. Was Montoya planning not to pit for bathroom breaks? Jokes aside, Montoya took the unusual sponsor in stride, even filming lighthearted ads about standing up for guardians of the pants. Then came the race, and shockingly, Montoya ran great. He led 67 laps and finished 4th, his highest finish of the season. Broadcasters couldn't resist noting the irony of Depend helping Montoya hold it together. The strong result made the Depend car a minor legend, proof that any sponsor, however odd, can find victory lane or almost. And why was it weird? Well, adult diapers aren't exactly the macho image that NASCAR teams usually seek out. But the sponsorship had a wholesome angle. Awareness efforts supported causes for aging adults, and Montoya's performance turned that gimmick into a feel-good story. Depend only popped up on that one race, but fans still remember Montoya nearly winning while wearing the Penske file, so to speak. Loveable Bras, a supportive truck team. In 1997, driver Tammy Jo Kirk broke new ground, becoming one of the first female racers in the NASCAR Truck Series, and she did it with Loveable as her sponsor, a women's lingerie brand. It was a perfectly logical pairing: female athlete, female-focused product. Yet still it struck many as bizarre to see Loveable bras plastered on a racing truck. NASCAR's predominantly male audience did a double take. Did that truck say, bras? Kirk embraced the humor, noting that it could have been more awkward with a different sponsor like men's underwear. The number 7 Loveable Ford F-150 was hard to miss in hot pink and white livery, and it instantly stood out in a field of trucks sponsored by tools, auto parts, and beer. Some old school fans snickered, but others applauded the novel marketing. On the track, Tammy Jo Kirk held her own in her brief Truck Series stint. She ran 15 races with Loveable backing and achieved a respectable best finish of 11th place. The sponsorship didn't last beyond that season as funding in the lower series was fickle. But why was it weird? A bra manufacturer venturing into NASCAR was unprecedented. It highlighted the sport's efforts, even then, to embrace diversity, both in drivers and sponsors. For once, a racing sponsorship wasn't selling something to the stereotypical good old boy demographic. It was targeting women in the audience. The Loveable truck proved that support comes in many forms, and that even a bizarre company can find its way to the fast lane of marketing. NWO and WCW, wrestling invades NASCAR. In the late 90s, pro wrestling theatrics spilled onto NASCAR's asphalt in one of the strangest crossover promotions ever. World Champion Wrestling, or the WCW, was riding high in the 1996-97 season and decided to sponsor a NASCAR team, bringing its edgy New World Order (NWO) storyline to the track. The result? Kyle Petty drove a black NWO branded number 49 Chevrolet at Talladega in 1997, looking more like a villain's getaway car than a NASCAR entry. Petty even donned an NWO fire suit, and WCW wrestlers made appearances at races, hyping up the partnership. In 1996, WCW sponsored the number 29 car, driven by Steve Grissom amongst others, with various wrestling-themed paint schemes. Fans of both sports were equal parts thrilled and confused. Wrestling diehards tuned into NASCAR for the first time ever, and NASCAR fans got a taste of over-the-top showbiz in their pre-race ceremonies. The NWO car actually performed pretty decently. Petty grabbed a 4th place finish at Talladega with it. WCW-sponsored cars, though, achieved wins in the Busch Series, such as Grissom's 1996 Daytona opener, with wrestlers in Victory Lane. But there was no Goldberg-themed sponsorship on a winning entry. And why was all this so weird? The cultures of wrestling and NASCAR overlap in fan base, but seeing a wrestling faction's logo on a car was pure marketing absurdity. The gimmick fizzled as WCW's popularity waned, but for a brief moment, stock cars and suplexes shared the stage, leaving behind some wild paint schemes that fans still reminisce about as so 90s. Cartoon Network, Saturday morning on a stock car. A decade before Pixar's Cars, actual cartoon characters raced around NASCAR tracks. Cartoon Network became a sponsor in the late 90s, turning race cars into kid-friendly billboards. Teams like Diamond Ridge Motorsports fielded brightly painted machines featuring the Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, and Johnny Bravo. The idea was to attract younger fans, and it was weirdly wonderful. Drivers would show up with Scooby-Doo on their hood one week and then Powerpuff Girls the next. Traditionalists rolled their eyes, but many families loved it. The sponsorship coincided with Cartoon Network's promoting wacky racing-inspired NASCAR segments to promote the sport. Essentially, the network created its own crossover programming and backed it up by funding real race teams. On the track, the results were mixed. The Cartoon Network cars, driven by mid-pack racers, never won a cup race. Still, they managed some respectable runs and definitely stood out in the field of staid corporate logos. And why was it weird? Well, seeing Bedrock's finest on a high-speed stock car was an odd fusion of kiddie culture and high-octane competition. It broke the mold of serious sponsors and gave NASCAR a whimsical twist for a while. Ultimately, the network ended the deal by 2000, after a few seasons of fun but modest results. Yet, fans still fondly recall the time when Fred Flintstone and Dexter of Dexter's Laboratory sponsored a NASCAR. RedneckJunk.com. Too stereotypical for NASCAR? When Derek Cope, yes, the same underdog who won the 1990 Daytona 500, tried to bring a sponsor called RedNetJunk.com to the track in 2004, even NASCAR blushed. The website was essentially a classified site for hunting gear, auto parts, and other redneck hobbies. Cope's small team painted up the number 50 Dodge with the Redneck Junk logo for Las Vegas Motor Speedway and prepared to race. But at the 11th hour, NASCAR officials balked. Perhaps it was the name's unabashed embrace of a stereotype that the sport was trying to move past. Whatever the reason, NASCAR ordered the decals removed from Cope's car before the race. It's not often you see a sponsor banned for being too on brand for NASCAR's Southern fried image. Cope ended up running a blank car, finishing in obscurity. The incident ironically gave RedNetJunk.com more publicity than it would have gotten by just running mid-pack. Fans debated NASCAR's call. Was redneck a derogatory term or a prideful one? The sponsor itself seemed tongue-in-cheek, but NASCAR was in an era of image consciousness and likely didn't want to feed critics ammo. And why was it weird? We've seen sponsors rejected for being too risky or political, but barely for being too stereotypical. Cope's team folded not long after, without ever properly showcasing the sponsor that got away. RedneckJunk.com faded off into obscurity, but its brief brush with NASCAR infamy remains a cautionary tale that even this sport has certain lines it won't cross. Poison. Rock and roll on the roll cage. Derek Cope makes our list again, because just a few years prior to the Redneck Junk saga, he campaigned a car sponsored by the glam metal band Poison. Yes, the late 80s rock icons behind Every Rose Has Its Thorn went racing in 2002. Cope's number 37 Ford showed up in an eye-catching paint scheme with the band's logo embolized on the hood. The sponsorship coincided with Poison touring that summer, a cross-promotion to get rock fans to the racetrack and vice versa. It was an unusual sight, hair metal and horsepower colliding. Cope donned a Poison-themed uniform and the team blasted nothing but a good time in the garage. On race day, however, there was little good time to be had. The Poison car struggled to qualify well and often ran towards the back. Cope's best finish with the scheme was 34th at Homestead. Still, the presence of an actual rock band as a sponsor was novel and had fans singing along trackside. Why was it weird? And NASCAR had seen movie and TV promotions, but a touring rock band literally sponsoring a car was a head-scratcher. It wasn't selling a product, it was selling an attitude. And concert tickets, I guess. Poison's stint in NASCAR was brief, and by the next season, Cope moved on to other sponsors. Yet, for a short time, the unskinny bop of Bret Michaels and company blasted through NASCAR's loudspeakers. Truly, one of the sport's most bizarre mashups. Dogecoin, when the internet sponsored a car. One of the wildest sponsorship stories of the 2010s involved an online community literally funding a NASCAR campaign as a meme. Enter Dogecoin, the joke cryptocurrency featuring a Shiba Inu dog, and Reddit, the message board hive mind. In 2014, Reddit users on the Dogecoin subreddit noticed underdog driver Josh Wise had an all-black, unsponsored car. A 16-year-old fan hatched an idea: raise money in Dogecoin to sponsor Wise. It sounded absurd. Except the internet actually did it. In just over a week, the crypto crowdfund amassed $55,000 worth of Dogecoin, enough for Phil Parsons Racing to run a special Doge-themed paint scheme at Talladega. Wise's number 98 Ford was transformed with the Dogecoin logo and the cute Doge face on the hood, along with Reddit alien decals. The car was labeled number 98 Moon Rocket in jest. The stunt gained viral attention. Wise became the internet's driver for a spell. He engaged with Redditors, even doing an AMA, Ask Me Anything online. On the track, Wise finished a respectable 20th at Talladega with the Doge car, avoiding any major crashes. The momentum continued as fans then mobilized to vote Wise into the 2014 All-Star race, beating out Danica Patrick in a fan vote shocker. And why was this weird? Well, it was perhaps the first instance of a meme sponsoring a NASCAR team. No corporation, no traditional deal, just a swarm of people on the web pooling micro-donations. Much wow indeed! The Dogecoin car remains a legendary example of motorsports meets internet culture, and a positive one at that. Affliction clothing, Kenseth's off-brand attire. Matt Kenseth is known as a straight-laced Midwestern racer, not exactly a poster boy for flashy fashion. That's why it was so jarring in 2011 when Affliction Clothing, famous for edgy MMA-inspired t-shirts, sponsored Kenseth's number 17 Ford for several races. Affliction's dark, skull-laden aesthetic seemed completely at odds with Kenseth's low-key persona and NASCAR's vibe. The deal came about during a tough time. Kenseth was seeking part-time sponsors after Dualt left, and Affliction stepped in to reach a new demographic. The result? Fans ribbed Kenseth, joking that he'd come to driver intros with spiked hair and a tribal tattoo. Kenseth himself found it amusing. He admitted that he'd never wear Affliction's loud apparel in daily life. On-track though, Kenseth delivered. He nearly won the July Daytona race in the Affliction car, finished second under caution, and he also scored a couple of top 10s in the 5 races deal, giving the sponsor some decent airtime. But why was this so weird? It was a true culture clash. A mild-mannered champion paired with a brand more associated with nightclub bouncers and rock stars. The sponsorship didn't continue into the next year. Affliction pivoted focus, and Kenseth went on to have more fitting sponsors. But for that short spell, seeing Affliction on a NASCAR was a head-scratcher that made people double-take and ask, Matt Kenseth is sponsored by what? Sometimes, even the most random pairings can work out on the racetrack. 1-800-CALL-ATT, Carrot Top's Wild Ride. Perhaps the most literal example of a comic sponsor was in 2003 when telecom service 1-800-CALL-ATT put stand-up comedian Carrot Top's face on Ken Schrader's race car. For 12 races, the bright orange number 49 Dodge featured the prop comics giant mug smirking from the hood, promoting AT&T's collect call number. It was equal parts hilarious and creepy. Fans joked that the car had the ugliest paint scheme ever. Schrader, a veteran driver known for his sense of humor, took it in stride. He quipped that it was hard to focus with Carrot Top staring back at him from the hood. The sponsorship coincided with Carrot Top's ubiquitous TV ads telling everyone to dial down the center, ATT, so it was peak early 2000s cheese. Surprisingly, Schrader had one of his better runs of the season in that Carrot Top car, a 10th place at Martinsville. Otherwise, the team struggled and finished well down the standings. But the sponsor did its job. People still remember that ridiculous car. And why was it so weird? Well, NASCAR has had plenty of celebrity tie-ins. Putting an actual comedian's face on a car takes the cake. It turned the vehicle into a rolling punchline. The deal ended after that season though, and AT&T moved on to more traditional marketing. Yet the legend of Schrader's Carrot Top car lives on in die-cast form and memory, a reminder that even 3,400-pound stock cars can't escape bad jokes. Taylor Swift, a pop star in Victory Lane? Cross-promotion hit a high note in 2012 when country pop superstar Taylor Swift found her face on a NASCAR race car. As part of an album release tie-in, Swift's record label partnered with Target to promote her album Red on Juan Pablo Montoya's number 42 Chevy at Kansas Speedway. Montoya's usual Target paint scheme was modified to feature Taylor's image and the album name on the hood. Seeing the megastar's portrait on a NASCAR stock car was surreal. The Venn diagram of Swifties and NASCAR Nation doesn't have huge overlap, but the move drew media buzz and delighted some younger fans. Montoya praised the design as fun and different. Meanwhile, longtime racing diehards were puzzled. Who is this Taylor Swift on Montoya's car? The race itself went smoothly. Montoya finished mid-pack around 16th, and Swift's album got a nice promotional bump. In fact, the partnership must have worked, because Swift did it again 5 years later in a different racing series, NHRA Drag Racing. Why was it weird though? Well, it wasn't a traditional sponsorship where a brand pays for exposure. It was more of a marketing collaboration to sell music via NASCAR. Still, the red car got people talking and showed that NASCAR was willing to play in pop culture's sandbox. Considering Swift's current global fame, that 2012 NASCAR cameo feels even more astonishing in hindsight. A moment when the queen of pop and the king of stock car racing collided in a very unexpected duet. Jerry Springer Show. Trash TV almost sponsors Outlaw. Now this one almost feels like urban legend. Back in 2012, the tabloid talkfest at the Jerry Springer Show nearly sponsored a NASCAR team. And not just any team. It was set to back Phoenix Racing's number 51, driven by none other than bad boy Kurt Busch. It seemed like a match made in reality TV heaven. Or maybe hell. NASCAR's most volatile driver at the time, teaming up with the king of on-air brawls and chair throwing. The plan was born after Busch had a public meltdown, insult to suspension, very Springer-worthy drama, and Springer's reps approached the team saying, essentially, "We love the chaos, let's partner up." Team owner James Finch admitted that it was the strangest sponsor request that he'd ever gotten. In the end, the deal fell apart. Springer's reps passed on the opportunity, Busch left the team amidst ongoing turmoil, and the Springer sponsorship never materialized beyond the concept stage. And why was it weird? Well, a daytime trash talk show sponsoring a race car is bizarre enough, but trying it on a driver known for real-life feuds was next level. It blurred entertainment and sport in a way that made even some NASCAR folks uneasy. Though it never hit the track, the very idea of Kurt Busch driving the Jerry Springer car remains one of the weirdest what-ifs in NASCAR lore. A sponsorship almost too crazy even for this list. But what was the most obnoxious ad of them all? Let us know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and if you want more of this, be sure to subscribe to the NASCAR's Explainer, where stories such as these on your screen will find their way to you every single day.